Alright, for this assignment you're going to learn how to use the pen tool. In Illustrator, we've got a few different things we need to look at before we get started. This file is attached to the assignment description, and if you go over here, you'll see this little, looks like two pieces of paper stacked on top of each other. That's your layers, and the file is going to open up with the background layer locked. This is so you can't mess up the background layer and have to start over. You're going to work on layer 2. If for some reason you're not able to draw on the layer that you're on, check this and make sure that you're not on the background, because that will be locked and you won't be able to make any changes on that layer. Make sure it's checked. Make sure layer 2 is checked. Okay. Now, we're using these two very recognizable logos to so that we know what it's supposed to look like, so that as we're using these tools, we know we're getting the result that we want. So we're going to just recreate these logos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you trace this using the pen tool, and the pen tool is right over here. Make sure that you're using the pen tool and not the curvature tool. So click on the pen tool. We're going to set our points. Now, every time you click, you're going to set down a point. And as you can see, it's like creating a dot to dot. Every time you click, a point goes down. Now, this is not exactly the same as this, right? We didn't do any curved lines. We only did points. I'm going to do the same thing. Grab the pen tool, click, and this time when I set the second point, I'm going to hold the click and drag it. And you can see I get a curved line. Here, let me switch. I'm going to switch the colors here. If I click this button, it'll swap the fill and the stroke. See, now the fill is empty and the stroke is red. I'm also going to make, just for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to make the stroke thicker so that we can see it really clearly. There we go. Do like 30. And now you can see that red stroke. The next thing I want you to do, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see a little better. Now, the next point is going to be a curve by default. But if I set it out here, you can see it doesn't quite fill in. If I set it in here, it curves too far. So I'm actually going to click on the last point I made, and it will go back to being a straight line. And I will just figure where the end of the curve will be on the other side of that curve there. Click and hold again so that I can drag and get the curve to look just the way I want. Now this next line is definitely going to be straight, so I'm going to actually click on that last point again, and it turns into a straight line. I go all the way out to the end of the swoosh, and I click, and then I come back as far as I can go without having to curve, and click again. And then I'm going to start doing curved lines again. So I'll go to the other side of where this curve will end, and I click and drag, and that gives me a nice curve. I'm going to click that point again to turn it back into a straight line. Go to the opposite side of where I want that curve to end. Click and drag. Same thing again, turn it back into a straight line. Go to the opposite side of where I want that curve to end. Don't want to pull it too far, you kind of just have to practice this until it looks right. And then the final one will be at the top of the swoosh here. Alright, now the only other thing, you'll notice that my stroke, the corners, or the ends of the stroke are actually, let me see if I can figure this out real quick. I think I have to go to this. This is our stroke menu. You have to click on this little 3 lines here, And we're going to choose, actually I can't change the endpoints. Oh, there we go. So to get them pointy, I've got hard corners here. I'm going to round the corners. It doesn't look exactly right. Okay. We've reached the end of my knowledge. It's okay. If you can get it to this far, we'll accept this. You can see now, and let me recenter this. So let's say you're zoomed all the way out. If you click on this button down here and go to fit on screen, it will fill it. Let's get rid of this one that we don't need. And let's select the one that we just created. We're going to swap the colors back. And I'm going to go ahead and drag it over here. That looks really good. It looks identical to the one that we started with. Okay, now I'm going to go zoom in here and work on the Adidas logo. Let me get rid of that. Alright, so this first part's going to be really easy to create. I'm going to grab my pen tool. I'm just going to click on the corners. These three stripes are going to be very, very easy to create. Make sure that you click on the first point that you set to finish the object. Clicking on these points, go back to the first one I made, and that closes that object. The last stripe, alright, there's our three stripes. Now we're going to zoom in and we're going to do the letter A. Got the pen tool selected. I usually start with the corners and the straight lines. If you hold down shift, you're going to get a nice straight line and square corners. So I'm holding down shift as I go. And then for a circle like this, so anywhere where there's a perfect circle, I'm going to set one point at the south end, one point at the west end, one point at the north end, and if I went all the way around, I'd have another point at the east end. So I'll set this bottom point, the south end, and I will click and drag to get the right angle here. And if I hold shift, if I don't want it to go up or down, I'll hold shift and it will go straight out. Now I'm going to set the east point, or sorry, the west point. Hold shift and drag up until it matches the curve. Set the north point and hold shift and drag to the right until it matches the curve. And then I'm going to swap the colors so I can see the edge. Set the last point by just dropping down and finding where that comes in. Then you're going to click on the initial point that you started, and that will close it off. Now for the assignment, you do not have to do the circle in the middle. But if you choose to, you just choose the ellipse tool. You go to the center of that circle and you start to drag out holding shift so you get a perfect circle. And if you hold alt as well, it will create it from the center out. Alright, now just for the purpose of displaying what this looks like, I'm going to switch the fill color of both items. Oops, hold on. Let me switch the fill color of both items to red, and make sure we're going to make the line color something bright. Let's choose a bright green here, and I'm going to make the stroke of the line big so we can see it. Alright, to get that middle circle punched out, I'm going to select the two objects together, and I'm going to go over here to the Pathfinder, and there's an option here that looks like this, and it's called click to minus front. What that will do is that will take the object in front and punch it out of the back. And so you see now I have the hole taken out of the A. Now here's the great thing, because there is another A, if I hold down Alt and drag a copy over, I have two of the letters done already. But you'll also notice that the D is the A with a taller back. So if I make a copy of it, drag it over to the D, and I go over here to my direct selection tool, that's this white one, not the black one, but the white one, and I just click and drag over just the 2 top points, then I hold shift, oops, here, let me do this again. I'm going to select just those 2 top points and bring them up to the top. Then I'll select my regular selection tool and copy that over. I've got my A's and my D's done. Alright, so the letter I is going to be really easy. We just make sure we have the pen tool selected. Here, let's zoom in so we can see. Just start at whatever corner you want. We're basically going to make a square, but hold down shift to get straight lines and straight corners. And make sure you close it when you're done. Here, let's go down to the bottom part, holding shift still holding shift, and it's closed. That one is done. Let's go over here. Oh, if you hit the space bar, if you hold it down rather, you can drag around while you're zoomed in and see, move your canvas around so you can work in a different area. Now this one by far is going to be the hardest because it is got a lot of curves. Let's start with, here, let's make sure that we're just doing the line. Okay, let's start right here on the bottom for the straight line. Then we're going to go to the opposite side of this curve and click and drag. Let's continue. Alright, we're going to call that good. We're going to switch the color back to fill. I'm going to zoom out here. Oh, also if you hold down Control 0, it should recenter everything. Looks like there's one object that I need to make. I need to switch the line color and the fill color. Then I can select the whole thing using my black arrow, the selection tool, and just drag that over. Once you get this far, you are done. This is all you have to do for the assignment. Now, if you want to do a different color than red, that's fine. You can do something different, but make sure you turn in the red copy to me, and make sure you take a picture of your whole screen. That's it.